Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss horror books. And I'm here today to let you guys know what a failure I am because the month of September was really bad when it comes to reading. But anyways, I'm here to let you know the things that I read in September.
It's coffee time.
So September is the month that I decided to accept a second job. Since I'm a freelancer now, I, have the opportunity to work on things that I really enjoy. Apart from my regular, steady job, so to say, the one that is always there, that I know, is going to be able to, keep me financially stable. So there is this other kind of side job that I really love to do and have the opportunity to do it. And it has taken a lot of my time in September because I had to translate 2 full movies in a record time. But, it's something that I really enjoy doing and it was a good opportunity, so I decided to take it. But of course, that meant that I knew I was not going to be able to read all the books that I wanted to read in September. But anyways, this intro is getting too long. I did end up reading 6 books, and those are the ones that I'm here to talk to you about. So basically what I'm saying is we all get busy sometimes, life gets busy and it's okay not to read so much, but 6 books, it's still quite enough. And I also read things that were 3 or more coffee mugs for me. So it's also a month that I read things that I actually enjoyed, which is also great. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you're ready. We like to rate our books here with coffee mugs, and we like to start with the lowest up to the highest, so we always end up on a positive note. Let's start with Legacy, which is by Cascade, and I believe this is number 1 on what it's supposed to be a series, and it is what the title implies. It is a book about witches. So our main character, Vienna Roots, comes from a line of murderous witches, but she has kind of distanced herself from her family and she has not been home for a while. So for the witches, she is currently an outsider. But after her mom dies and she inherits the home, the haunted house of the family, she has to return to claim the house. And her thinking is, maybe I'm able to sell the house and just get out of here because I don't want to have anything to do with this coven, with these witches. But when she gets there, there's a lot of things that are going to start to happen. One of them is that she's going to get a little bit involved in trying to solve the mystery of her best friend's death. And there were a lot of positive things about this book. I felt like there were a lot of things happening that kept the plot intriguing. I love to see Vienna as a character, and I love to see her kind of navigating, going back to a place where she knows she's kind of hated, and kind of deal with her past. Some emotions will emerge again, and also her kind of struggling to figure out what happened to her best friend. It is a book that has a nice spooky, witchy atmosphere, which is gonna be perfect for the winter season. And I felt like, the town and the people there felt really real by the way everything was described. And I think if you love, witch stories in general, you're really gonna enjoy this one. At its core, it's a book about, how family legacies might be able to define us or not, about family and friend relationships. You're gonna find here ghosts, and you're gonna find witches, you're gonna find yourself in dangerous situations. So it's kind of like a really good mix. So I feel like if you love in general witch books, you're gonna enjoy this one. The only reason why I didn't give it a higher rating is because for me, it didn't have anything extremely exciting in a way. Like I felt like I love the way they describe the coven and the rituals and the things that they do, but it didn't like hook me so much for me to give it a higher rating. But I still really enjoy it, and I feel like if you like witches, you're gonna have a good time. Then I finally finished volume 4 of Women of Horror. It was called Don't Break the Oath, and it's all short horror stories written by women, and I really enjoyed this one. Of course, with short horror stories, it's really hard to give a proper rating or to give a lot of thoughts on it because every single story is quite different and we might all enjoy different things. So because this is such a wide variety of stories, it is hard for me to say who this book is for. But if you love short horror stories in general, and you would like to support female writers in horror, give this one a chance. It is 23 female authors that write about, you know, blood sacrifices, pacts with the devil, demonic encounters, all the good stuff. So make sure to check it out, because I think they put a volume out, I'm not sure if every year, but it's something, you know, great to support female writers that want to, you know, get their stories published and their voices heard. Then let's talk about The Hunting of Tyrese Walker by J.P. Rose. And this one was a lot of fun. I was so excited about this book. It just came out on the 6th of October, but I got an earlier copy sent by the author, and I'm gonna have an interview with the author on the 25th of October here on YouTube. We're gonna have a live Q&A, so if you have any questions for the author, leave them down below, and you still have time to get the book and read it before the live. So that, you know, in case any spoiler slips out, you're ready for it. We're gonna try to keep it spoiler free though. So in the story we follow Tyrese, and he is dealing with a lot of grief. Is something that is not always portrayed in middle grade, which is the death of a parent. So Tyrese lost his dad, and he's still dealing with that grief and that loss, which is huge for him. And his mom sees that and thinks that maybe it would be good for him to go back to his roots. So the mom decides to take him on a trip back to Jamaica with the grandmother, and kind of rekindle the past Tyrese, you know, to try to bring him back, because he has not been in a good place for a couple months. And it is really interesting to see Tyrese as he's still kind of struggling to adapt in Jamaica, and he is kind of being confronted with things from his culture that he maybe forgot about. And the culture references and learning about certain myths and beliefs about the Jamaican culture was really interesting to me, because it's something that you also don't see all the time in books. And I think it's great for a middle grade to portray all of that, you know, from the way that Tyrese deals with his hair, which is something so basic, but it is so important for character development and to be represented in books, also for kids. And when it comes to the horror, well, when Tyrese goes back to Jamaica, he starts to have the feeling that somebody's watching him, that he's being hunted perhaps by something or someone, and he learns about the Shadow Man, and he is convinced that the Shadow Man is coming for him, but he doesn't know why he was picked, why he's being hunted, and he also doesn't know how to stop it. So I love that we see family relationships, but we also see friendships flourish between Tyrese and other kids that are in this place. And I just really love to see how the horror also escalated, and it got more and more. And there's also a little bit of body horror in this book, which is also something that you don't see all the time in middle grade, and I loved it. So I feel like this one's gonna be perfect if you're looking for a middle grade spooky book for you, your kids, or someone else's kids, you know, for the spooky season. It's gonna be great. It is kind of a supernatural tale in a way, but it has also a lot of good life messages, and I really enjoy the way that relationships were kind of handled in the book as well. So it is perfect for the spooky season. Then I have a couple of sequels that I was really excited about that came out this year in 2022. The first one is Clown in a Cornfield 2 Friendo Lives by Adam Caesar. So this is the continuation to the slasher Clown in a Cornfield that I really enjoyed, because it was kind of a more adult horror for a YA, and that is part of why I enjoyed it so much. Plus it was a lot of fun. What can be wrong? Small town, cornfield, a clown, a massacre. It just sounded so much like my taste, and it was. Now the sequel does come back with a lot more kills and blood and intense moments that I really appreciated. In the story we follow the survivors of book 1, which, you know, I'm not gonna tell you who it is in case I'm not gonna say names in case you didn't read the first one. What I can tell you is that you follow here more characters than in book 1, and my only issue with this book, if any, is that there is a lot of change of POV, so every chapter is from a different character's perspective, And while that really helps you to get into their skin and know what they're going through, so much change all the time because the chapters are short, which of course helps with the pacing, but making such abrupt changes all the time between characters at times kind of threw me off. So that is kind of my only complaint about it. When it comes to the horror, I really enjoyed it. I felt like we got kills from the beginning, and you know, I love that. And you get a lot more body count here, which is supposed to happen on a good sequel, as we all know. I also love the change of like scenery. We have different scenarios here. We're not just in a cornfield, and there is kind of like a horror maze, like an attraction that they do for Halloween that I thought was fantastic, because you know, what is better than having a real slasher happening on one of these like kind of haunted house mansions or horror maze attractions. It is fantastic. All in all, I feel like I really enjoyed this one, but I still loved part one a little bit more, which I feel like it's normally the case because you fell in love with part one, and even though a sequel might be amazing, you still have that kind of feeling of discovering that first book. But I do feel like if you enjoyed Clown of Cornfield, you're gonna love the sequel. And these books, if you have not picked up any of them, if you love slashers and you're somebody that reads YA but is ready for a little bit more of intensity when it comes to the horror, definitely pick it up. It's also not your typical YA horror in which there's a lot of attention sometimes to some love relationships that for me are not really important for a horror book. So I feel like Adam Caesar really balances that out really well without, you know, giving us too much romance. It's more focused on the horror, and the horror is pretty intense and gory, and so I feel like this is perfect for people that are still reading YA but want to transition into adult horror. Now let's talk about Mandy by Stephanie Sparks. This was another release that I was really excited to pick up because everything I have read by her so far I have absolutely loved, and I will keep saying it. She's such an underrated horror author. She needs to get a lot more love, and I want more books by her. So this is a novella, and this one is not going to be for everybody because this one is really disturbing, it's really macabre, and it's really intense. There is a disclaimer on the first page of all the trigger warnings that you can see in this book, but one of those is necrophilia, so just to let you know how far this book is going. So Mandy lives in a house that is attached to a mortuary, and she lives there with her dad. They both work in the mortuary, so they both kind of get the bodies of the deceased and prepare them for their burial, for the funeral. And so one night she's there by herself in the middle of the night when somebody starts banging her door really loud, and she's a little bit scared, but she decides to open the door, and it is this young guy that it is completely freaked out because he's just been in a car accident and his friend is hurt, and he's looking for some kind of medical attention, some kind of like medical assistance, some help. And so Mandy decides to try to help him, but he realizes soon enough that his friend is already dead and there's nothing that she can do. Or can she? Because Mandy has a gift or a curse, as you may see it, and that is that she is able somehow, with a very specific procedure, to bring sometimes dead people back to life. But of course this comes with a cost, and the people that come back are never truly like they used to be. There's always something off with them. This is kind of, you know, Pet Sematary vibe, and that's all I'm gonna say. It's a short book, so I don't want to spoil more than that, which is basically what you get in the synopsis of the book. But what I can tell you is that I really enjoyed Mandy as a character. I felt like you know, she had to go through a lot in this book. There was a couple of decisions or things that she did that I didn't quite agree with. I thought that she was smarter, or I thought that she was tougher at times than what she showed. But it might have been just my personal opinion. I still really love this book, but it was really uncomfortable to read at times, and it was really messed up. Like, it was really messed up. So I feel like this might be only for people that are used to this kind of horror and are okay with it. You know, I would compare it to something like True Crime by Samantha Kolesnik. I feel like If you can take that, then you can take something like this. Or even Wife by Samantha Kolesnik, that is even more messed up than true crime. So something like that, I feel like then you definitely have to pick this one up. Then of course I have Mina and the Slayers by Amy McCall, and we're gonna have our live show to talk about this book on the 23rd of October. It is a Sunday. We will be going live on YouTube to talk about Mina and the Slayers, to talk perhaps about a couple of spoilers, so make sure you read the book before you come to the live show. We will keep it spoiler free for the beginning of the show, and once we go into spoilers I will let you guys know, so the ones that haven't read the book can leave the live and not be spoiled. So if you have any questions for the author, let me know down below. And I hope you guys have been enjoying both Mina and the Undead and Mina and the Slayers. In this video, obviously I'm not gonna spoil book 1 because I don't want people to get spoiled. So what I'm gonna tell you is that this sequel came back being like funnier, bloodier, and with a lot more twists and turns and mysteries. So basically what a good sequel is supposed to do. So Mina is getting ready with her friends for the Halloween season. They're really excited. They are working on this haunted house, preparing some scares for people that come visit. They're getting ready their Halloween costumes. You're gonna see all of that throughout the book and really get into the Halloween mood. So this one was perfect to read in September to get excited for Halloween season myself. And I feel like this book had the both of best worlds, and by that I mean that there is a lot of detective investigation here. So in a way this is like a full-on thriller, but on the other side you have the story about the vampires and the Slayers, and it felt a lot again like kind of a Buffy story. So you kind of have that vampire story combined with a thriller, like a mystery thriller, and I think that formula worked really well. This was spooky, was atmospheric, and I really loved that it had so many twists and turns, and it had all the 90s references that we know we're all here for. I really enjoyed that we got to learn a lot more about characters from the first book, but also new characters that were introduced. And one of my favorite characters is mentioned here, which is Sandy. I've always loved that character. I was glad to see her in this book as well. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and we're gonna talk a little bit more in depth about the book with Amy on our live show, so make sure to come and check it out on the 23rd of October. Alright guys, so that was everything. A little bit short this month because I didn't read too much, but the things that I read I enjoyed, which I take as a positive. You know, always stick to the positive things, so I choose to be thinking about everything I read this month was good. You know, so that's my positive. I didn't read so much, but everything was good. Let me know, you guys, how you did in September. You probably had a better month than I did. Let me know down below what is the best thing you read in September. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye.